is Oliver Queen. For 5 years, I was stranded on an island with only one goal: survive.
Oliver Queen is alive.
Now I will fulfill my father's dying wish.
Make it home. Right my wrongs. No!
To use the list of names he left me and bring down those who are poisoning my city. To do this, I must become someone else. I must become something else.
What's up, DC Nation? Welcome back to another video. And guys, if you like the video, give it a big thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, because I always great juicy content every day that you don't want to miss. Now guys, this is gonna be my final video on Arrow series review, going over everything, guys. Well, as much as I could get into this video, but how I'm gonna lay out for you guys is pretty much answer a few questions, tell you guys what I thought of it as a whole, and then I'll go into my top 10 favorite episodes of the series, and then by the end of the video, you should see my final score, alright? Now guys, honestly, I watched Smallville. The first question that I'll answer, was it better than Smallville? Alright, so, obviously it's better, because Arrow is just more, it's more modern. Like, Smallville was older, so obviously the effects are better in Arrow. You also, a better thing, you see him in full costume in the first episode, and he's like comics accurate by the end of the series. Like, not final shot, but like the final season. Season 8 like really hits on all the notes. And guys, if you want to see what I thought of Season 8 as a whole, check out my video in the top right corner right here. But guys, like, you see comics actually shooting arrows, you see all the lore come into place, where Smallville was more like a prelude. So the only thing you really got to see of him as Superman was that final scene where you have like the Christopher Reeves music, and then he's like coming out and then he opens this thing, and that's how it ends. You see the Superman symbol.
Still the minister? Or maybe a few minutes late.
Which that's cool and all, but compared to Arrow just pushed it a lot farther, and we got more fan service, we got more as comic book fans what we wanted. Now, by all means, Smallville was a great show, but I felt like Arrow, even in its like worst moments, was still a great show. Where Smallville, I felt like a couple seasons were really weak. Well, not really a couple, probably like season 7 was really weak. Like, that one wasn't that good, but where Arrow, I felt like it didn't live out its, it didn't wear out its welcome, alright? Like, it only had 8 seasons, pretty much all solid. The only one that was really weak, kinda, was season 4, but even that season started out very well. The first half was amazing, but then it just went to shit from there. But then with Smallville, it kinda like, at the end, you're kinda, okay, is this gonna end? It ended well, the final season was great, just like Arrow season 8. But there's just certain, it kind of dragged on for a long time. But still, 2 great shows, but if I had to choose one that was better, I'd choose Arrow. Now guys, to my next thing, was Arrow consistent throughout? It's kind of already answered it, but no, it was not consistent throughout. The first season was amazing. Second season was awesome too, and then season 3 was starting to go into a decline, and as season 4 came, I thought it jumped back up. But then no, it just crashed down again, crashed and burned. But then we got to season 5, and that's my favorite season. Season 5 is my favorite season, because you have Prometheus, Lee and You, which that's one of the best episodes. We'll see how it ranks in my top 10 though. And it was just an amazing season. And then we got to season 6, which I was alright. It was probably the second weakest season, mainly because the first half, it was like the opposite of season 4. Like, the first half was crap, but then the second half was amazing, where Arrow season 4 was first half was amazing, second half crap. But I felt like Arrow season 4, there's more episodes that were weak in that than season 6. But guys, season 7 brought it back, even though it has some missed opportunities, and by season 8, it ended on a high note. Probably one of the best seasons. It's not better than season 5 though. I think season 5 is the best season of Arrow. But guys, then we come to the next thing. Is Steve Amell Arrow? Like, did he play it well? obviously, like, he killed it, alright? From the opening episode pilot, he was the Green Arrow. Like, he kept, like, I know a lot of people talked way back, even I kind of saw it was with, like, the Batman Begins comparisons, how he acted, and just how the show was. But eventually, even season 2, actually pretty quickly, he morphed into his own character, his own identity. The show did as well. And by the end of it, I was like, wow, Stephen Amell was like awesome. He just killed the role. And what made it even better was with flashbacks, different versions of his characters. I remember in season 5, there's like one episode where he played like 5 different versions of his character. Like in a flashback, you saw him play like this different character there, and then himself in the flashback. Then in the present day, you see him disguised as a character, and then he play himself in that present day, and then him like different parts of the timeline, and he just handled it so well. So yeah, obviously Stephen Amell is Arrow, and I don't think anybody could beat him. Like the guy at Smallville did a great job, but Stephen Amell like raised that bar high. And I know like recently there was like reports that maybe there's an end credit scene in Birds of Prey, which guys, I will have my review up for that probably the day that it comes out, so be prepared for that. But I heard like there's a rumor that like Green Arrow showed up at an end credit scene looking for Black Canary, which like Janice Bell, whatever her name is, the girl who plays Black Canary in that movie, like Green Arrow's looking for her. And I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, no, that better not be in there. They better not be trying to bring Green Arrow in the movies. As much as Green Arrow, it's cool to see him a lot. I don't want them to, oh, Arrow's ending. Hey, let's just bring him back in on the movies because now we have the chance. Like, come on, give it a little break. He has time. They ended it so well, and I don't want DC movies to screw it up. But guys, this shows like I don't think anybody could beat Stephen Amell. Nobody. All right, he is the Arrow. But guys, another thing, I actually watched He and the Bullseye, the whole like cast interview thing last night. Yeah, I know. I watched the series finale like a couple nights ago, but I didn't watch that right before it because I don't have cable. I use like Fire TV, like the Amazon Fire TV, and then but I couldn't find the He and the Bullseye on there, so I went to the CW app when it came out the next day, but it took me a while to get to it. But pretty much I watched it, and it was so cool seeing all these like different actors talk about how the show is like came better. It's came like something else, and man, dude, like it was so cool. After watching that series finale, being so hyped, I loved it. I gave that series finale a 10 out of 10. And then watching that, it was just like, wow, this is one of my favorite shows of all time, and I can't believe it's ending. But they ended on a high note, right? They killed it. Like, I love this show, really great. But now with all that out of the way, before I get to that score, let's get to my top 10 favorite episodes of the entire series. There's actually 170 episodes in its whole lifespan, which is pretty crazy. Like, if you think about it, a lot of series, even if they have 8 seasons, it's like 13 episodes a season, so it only ranks in the 100 episode, a little over 100 episode range. But with Arrow, 23 episodes each season. The only exceptions are season 7, 22, which that's pretty much like the same, and then season 8 condensed into 10 episodes. But it's crazy how much episodes they got in, and pretty much kept it like consistent throughout. Like obviously there's points in time, season 3 ending, season 4 finale, certain points that I didn't like a lot of people didn't like. But there's never a point that I was like, I want to drop Arrow. No, there's never a point. There's always that there's something in the show that wanted me to come back. Like I wanted to come back and watch it, even after the season 4 finale. But guys, let's get to that top 10 list. Let's see out of the 170 episodes what my 10 favorite are. Starting now. Coming in at number 10 is going to be Slapside Redemption, Arrow Season 7, Episode 7. And guys, when I was making this list, I was going through a lot of episodes, alright? It was hard to just scroll through all of them, be like, man, I remember that moment, all these great episodes. And then I was thinking, I looked at Season 7. I was like, which episode am I going to put on the list? And when I was going through this, I had like an original top 20 list, but that'd be way too long a video. And this barely made number 10. I was gonna put this like honorable mention, but Slapside Redemption is the best episode of season 7, and the whole storyline with Oliver in prison is one of the best storylines in the entire show. And this episode had awesome action sequences by James Bamford himself, And we also had great stuff with Ron's Tiger. You had Stanley, the one crazy little guy. That was pretty cool. And how he like evolved as a character and came back as Star Slayer. But also, like in this episode, like it had like throwbacks to Shawshank Redemption, like Stephen King's the movie. Like obviously it wasn't full throwback to that, no. But like the ending scene when Oliver comes and sees Felicity and Diggle, that one was kind of similar. It was like, it wasn't exactly similar, but you felt kind of like that. And then the title alone, Slabside Redemption, they're obviously mimicking that movie. And then just Oliver himself, Stephen Amell killed it. He did a great job. And it was just such a great episode. I really liked it. And I like how they wrapped it. I know other people are kind of disappointed, like Ricardo Diaz, whatever. But I liked how they wrapped up Ricardo Diaz and that. Like afterwards, it got a little like, alright, take Diaz out of here. Because they ain't joined the Suicide Squad. And it was like, man, this villain is past his like expiration date. Like he's done. This should have been like the end of him. He should have died in that episode. But still a great episode. Really liked it. And it deserves its number 10 spot on the list.
Kill that Robin Hood son of a bitch!
Now, coming in at number 9 is going to be What We Leave Behind, Arrow Season 5, Episode 9, the mid-season finale. And guys, this episode really brought it back, alright? Like, you know how cool it was to see Season 1 Arrow? Yeah, Season 1 version of Oliver, him like just mowing down people, shooting arrows, and when he goes up like the escalator, shoots guys, that was just freaking awesome. And guys, like also, this episode, you like see origin of Prometheus a little bit, like the one Felicity's boyfriend dies and Oliver blames himself. It's very dark, it's very gritty, and you find out Evelyn, like you found out she was a traitor before, but you see that play out. You see cool action sequences. Even the beginning of the episode, you see a cool one where Prometheus and Oliver fight, and by the end of the episode, it's just like he felt like a Taskmaster character. Like, okay, I'm referencing Marvel, but whatever. He felt like that because he played Oliver. He literally played him. And it was like, man, this is the best villain since like Deathstroke. And that's saying a lot. But even the cliffhanger with Laurel coming back, even though it was a little abrupt, that character ended up being like one of the best characters on the series. Even though Black Sam was a little weak in Season 6, by the end of it, when she's Black Canary, the ending of her with Green on the Canaries, it just makes this episode even look that much better. So yeah, I really like this episode. It's not the best episode of Season 5. There's 2 more that I'm going to include on this list. That just shows how Season 5 is like the best season. But this does rank in the top 10.
It should have been me. Open your eyes, Sonny.
Coming in at number 8 is going to be Season 1, Episode 23, the finale, Sacrifice. Now, this is the episode that Tommy died, if you guys remember. That scene, man, it always gets me. Still gets me. Like, I've been rewatching the whole series, because, come on, nostalgia. Like, you gotta watch it again. And when I got to that scene where you see Oliver go in and try to save Tommy, it was crazy, alright? Like, it really hits you, and you're like, wow. Like, that, they just ended the season like that. And I remember the very first time that I watched it, and I saw it, I was like, whoa, what just happened? I mean, and I actually binged the first 2 seasons, but I was thinking to myself, I'm like, how did people actually not get super angry finishing the season off and having to wait a whole summer until the season, like the series comes back? Like, I would have been mad because they ended it perfectly. Like, by all means, ended perfectly. But you know how like season ends so good that you're like, no, now I have to wait. Like, that sucks. But guys, this is such a great finale, one of the best finales. It's not the best finale. Season 5 deserves that. But, and probably season 8 too. Those two are better than this one. But that just shows how Arrow's finale is just like some of the best episodes in the series. And this one deserves a ranking in the top 10. Coming in at number 7 is going to be Starling City, which is the premiere episode of season 8. Now guys, this episode, when the trailers came out for this season 8, I was stoked. I was excited. But this episode managed to even push farther. It got me so hyped for the final season. You see Oliver's on Earth 2, you see Diggle show up, you see all these callbacks to the original season. Well, the season 1. You see Laurel show up, you have Agent Chase, and I even said it in my season 8 review, like when I talked about the scene, like having Agent Chase and Black Canary, Agent Chase being the Green Arrow was just so cool. The action sequences were on point. It made Arrow like fresh. Like after the series getting kind of old and getting kind of dull a little bit in season 7. Like season 7 was still a great season, but there's certain points you're like, all right, we've seen this before. Season 8 was like fresh right off the bat, and the ending alone, destroying Earth 2, crazy. And actually, I found out recently, okay, about to talk about the Flash real quick, but that Jesse Quick and Harry, from Earth 2, they actually died, which I hope they did. All right, that's a rumor right now, but I hope they didn't die. That's one thing that was kind of bad about the cliffhanger. The cliffhanger was amazing. That premiere episode of Arrow, but it raises a lot of questions for the Arrowverse. But that doesn't really dock the episode itself. But guys, this is the perfect entry point into the season, and you could honestly, if you missed the other seasons of Arrow, just jumped in on this one and had a good time. Yeah, you wouldn't understand the callbacks that much, but you'd still been like, man, this is a great show. And guys, this episode definitely deserves a spot on the top 10.
Get up. Tommy, you're not gonna die down here. Tommy, I'm sorry.
Coming in at number 6 is going to be 3 Ghosts, the mid-season finale of season 2. And guys, this episode was crazy. Actually, at this point, Sacrifice was the best episode in the series, today, at that part. But when this episode came out, it exceeded that. Because the 3 Ghosts themselves, you see Shadow, you see Slade, and you see Shadow at first saying Oliver, you have to remember the sins you did. And then Slade coming in being like, hey, you're an asshole, Oliver. And then Tommy shows up, and Tommy's like, get up. You're the hero you need to be. And I was like, man, it hits you in the feels so much. And the action's good. And just seeing Oliver in that old suit, I'm like, man, that's some nostalgia right there. And then Cyrus Gold, Solomon Grundy. I'm kind of disappointed they never actually came back to that. But it was still cool to have that reference. And then Brother Blood was a great villain too. And then just the cliffhanger at the end, seeing Deathstroke without the eye, it was like, holy shit, Deathstroke, they're actually bringing him in. They could have easily had Slay in the flashbacks, and that's where you ended it. And you never brought Deathstroke in because he's a big character. I would get that. But when they showed that, that's just it clicked into your brain. You're like, this is an actual Green Arrow show, and they're going full in. They're sending it. And it was so cool. And guys, it's one of my favorite episodes of the entire series by far, and it deserves a ranking on this top 10 list.
Oliver Queen. Who could have imagined?
Coming in at number 5 is going to be Confusion, Arrow Season 5, Episode 17. And guys, this episode was so good. You see Oliver getting tortured by Agent Chase, one of the best villains of Arrow in general. And you see all these great scenes that I really love them. When he's dumping in the water, you see Evelyn show up. But the big thing that I loved about this episode is the flashbacks. You see him in Russia. It's almost like a full flashback episode. You see Malcolm Merlin show up. You see awesome action sequences, Oliver versus Constant Kovar. It was just so cool, and it wrapped up the flashbacks almost well. Obviously we had a couple more scenes in the flashbacks and the finale of season 5, but this was kind of like a good wrap up to like the Russia-centric arc, which they did really well. Like season 4 to season 3 flashbacks were weak, but season 5 like brought back and ended the flashbacks really strong. And guys, this episode, everybody loves it, and I love it too. But it definitely deserves that number 5 spot on this list. Coming in at number 4 is gonna be Reset. Another season 8 episode. We see Quentin return. You see Laurel struggling with the death of Quentin. Oliver struggling with the death of his life, like the death of his life, his own death. And these awesome action sequences. I think it was directed by David Ramsey, who kudos to him, did a great job. Like the action sequence when he's like protecting Quentin was like top notch. And guys, you also see like Oliver. He, like, those emotional scenes and the ending of the episode where they like show up on Lee and you, I was like, wow, like this is good. Like it was so good, and it deserves like that number 4 spot. Like obviously there's a couple more episodes that are better than it, but it's one of the best episodes. Like it surprised me. Like I thought it'd be good, but I didn't think it'd be this amazing. But guys, definitely deserves a spot on this list, but I think it's time that we get to number 3.
Find Oliver Queen.
It is a new day in Sterling City.
All these lies, all we ever needed was the truth. This city needs the air.
I'm the Arrow.
Coming in at number 3 is gonna be Sea of Blood, season 2 of Arrow, episode 21. Now I know you guys are probably like, oh, what about the finale of season 2? Maybe the like penultimate episode. I thought those episodes were good, but this one, after Moira's death, you see him Oliver like struggling with it. He's like gonna turn himself into Slade. He's like, every person that I come across, I pretty much destroy their life. So why not I just like turn myself in? And by the end of the episode, he gets his mantle back. He saves Laurel. You see all these different Deathstrokes show up, and it's just so good. Like the one scene when Oliver, I think he's talking to Diggle. It's on like he's talking to Laurel. He's on like the pier, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna turn myself in. Like it makes you like, it made me tear up. Like it was sad. Like he's like, man, I couldn't save my mother. It was just so good. And it deserves a spot on this list in the top 3. And guys, at one point it was my favorite episode of the entire series. But obviously there's 2 more episodes that really hit that high mark. Like this episode was close to a masterpiece. Alright, it was really close. But 2 more episodes that I did give masterpiece scores that I gave like 10 out of 10s were barely better than this one. So let's get to those.
How many times you gonna watch her die?
Lucky for us, we have all the time in the world for me to talk to you.
Coming in at number 2 is gonna be the series finale of Arrow, Fade Out. Now, there's not that much I'm gonna say about this because I have a whole freaking video right here in the top right corner. It's not just like a 2-part reaction. I react to the episode, I give my review on it, and to keep it short for you guys, I loved all the characters coming back, like Ragman, the whole Jon Stewart thing with Diggle, and just how they wrapped it up in general. And the big thing that like made this episode go from like amazing to a masterpiece was just the flashbacks to season 1. Like I love season 1 Oliver Queen. Like he's just mowing down, killing people. You have Diggle with him, and Diggle's like, hey, you can't kill this guy. And Oliver's like, well, they failed this city. Like just see him say, you have failed this city, was just so cool. Like I really liked it. It was awesome. And it ended the series on a high note, alright? It was just a masterpiece. But there's one thing that prevented it from getting number 1 on this list, and that's like the lack of Deathstroke. Like if they would have brought Deathstroke into this episode, I'd probably put this episode at number 1. But since he wasn't in it, it gets number 2, which is still good. It's still great for a series finale. But with that out of the way, let's get to number 1, my favorite episode of Arrow of all time.
Without Mom and Felicity.
No, Adrian!
Coming in at number 1 is the season 5 finale of Arrow, titled Lee and You. Now, this episode could have been a series finale in itself. You see Oliver come back to Lee and You to rescue his friends from Prometheus. You see him team up with Deathstroke. Yep, Mayu Betts in this episode, he kills it. Like, it's such an awesome episode, like, so good. And Deathstroke with his action sequences, talking to Oliver, all that nostalgia at that point, like, it puts it above the series finale just because of that. And then seeing Captain Boomerang, seeing Night Al Ghul, all these returning characters, which pretty much the series finale had that too. But Deathstroke, man, Deathstroke, freaking, that's the deciding factor. But also the flashbacks, they wrap that up in the end very well. Like the final scene in the flashbacks where you see him talking to Moira on the phone, saying like, Mom, I'm alive. It like almost makes you cry. Like I teared up a little bit. It was just that good. And how they ended it, pretty much by blowing up everything. The fire of Prometheus. Prometheus, at this point, was my second favorite villain. Obviously, Deathstroke's number 1, but Prometheus gets really close. Like, when he put that gun to his head, he's like, hey, if I shoot myself, that whole island goes off. And he does it, and you pretty much wondering, what happens to all the team? Who died? Who's alive? How's Oliver gonna deal with this? And it was just crazy. It was a perfect way to end the season 5. And it could have been like the end of the series, which I'm happy they kept going. But it's just, it stands as my favorite episode of the series by far. But guys, with all that out of the way, my top 10 favorite episodes, let's get to my final score of the entire series. So guys, here we are. Here's my final score of the entire series. Really liked it. Obviously, there's points in this series that weren't so good, but there's also points that are some of the best things you'll see on television, and I'm surprised CW delivered it. But guys, I'm overall going to give Arrow an 8.5 out of 10. Yes, an 8.5 out of 10. That's a great score, I think. It's a really great score, and yes, you're probably like, well, but you loved all these episodes. Why is it not in the 9 range? Well, the reason it's not in the 9 range is just like season 4, the ending of that, some parts of season 3, and then season 6 too. Like, you're probably like, man, that's a lot. No, like season 1, 2, 5, 7, 8 were all really good. Like 5 of the seasons were like top notch, but 3 of the seasons were kinda all over the place. Like, they weren't bad, like I still enjoyed them, but they bring the score down from like that 9.5, made that masterpiece, which I've never given a show a masterpiece. I've never thought like a series was a 10 out of 10. I don't think so. Like, there's only been a movie that I gave like a 10 out of 10, which is The Dark Knight. But pretty much this series, it's a solid one. I think it's better than Smallville, and I'm excited to see what the CW does from here. Like, you have Flash. Flash has been great. I wonder if it'll end on the same way as Arrow. Like, not the same way, but like on the same high note. Maybe we'll get some awesome action sequences, maybe some cool episodes. I want to see the Reverse Flash come back, and I want them to bring Flash full circle like they did with Arrow. And then with the whole Superman, Lois, Supergirl, all these shows, we're like moving into a new era of the Arrowverse. And I'm wondering what they're gonna do with Arrow gone. Arrow's been like that foundation, and they need a new one, alright? Like, don't change the name. It should always be the Arrowverse, but they need something to be like that driving force. And I wonder what they're gonna do for the next crossover, how they're gonna handle it, and what's gonna be that big show of the 2020s. Like, the 2000s was Smallville for CW, 2010s Arrow. So what's it gonna be for the 2020s? It can't be Flash, because Flash is already 6 seasons in. But yeah, I'm excited for what they're gonna do, and I'm so happy they made one of my favorite characters of DC Comics an awesome show that I can keep watching on Netflix, keep watching the CW app whenever I want, alright? And I'm gonna keep rewatching it. I'm probably not gonna get it all done in like a week. Like, I have a freaking life. I don't have time to just keep watching episodes. But when I get to it, I get to it, and I just love it. Alright, I love rewatching these episodes, especially my favorites. But even the weak ones are great too. But yeah, guys, in the comment section below, tell me what your top 10 favorite are. Like, actually list it all out. Tell me your worst episodes, like what you thought were the worst. And also tell me what you thought about the series in general. Do you think Stephen Amell was the perfect Green Arrow? Do you think it was better than Smallville? Do you think it ended it well? And then do you think it was consistent throughout? Like, I don't think it was. Like, maybe you did. But I still thought it was a great show, though. But yeah, guys, leave all those comments in the comment section below. And if you liked the video, give a big thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, bro, subscribe to the channel. Because I really share this content every day that you don't want to miss. Alright, guys, that's the last video of Arrow. So, yeah, that's the video. Peace out.